Today, guys, we're going to talk about what it takes to be an elite level professional footballer. The first thing we need to do is define what top level professional means. So, top level professional is an elite professional footballer. That is an international player. That is a player playing in a top division. That is a player competing in European competitions. A player that has to play multiple games per week. That is not just on one team, so is on their club team and also, let's say, a national team. It could be underage international, or it could be a full senior international. That is what we define as an elite level footballer. Alright, the first thing it takes to be a top level professional: athletic ability. So when we talk about athletic ability, what are we talking about? I'm talking about top speed, I'm talking about fitness, I'm talking about body composition, I'm talking about their agility and ability to change direction, I'm talking about their strength and robustness. Top speed, in the European level, average is around 34.5 kilometers an hour, with the minimum being 32 kilometers an hour and maximum up around 37 kilometers an hour for the fastest players. So if a player is below 32 kilometers an hour in their top speed, they're really going to struggle to compete at a top level. Second thing is their fitness. So when we talk about VO2 max, we're looking at anywhere from between 55 to 70 on the VO2 max test. Obviously heavier players will have a lower VO2 max based off their body weight, but it's rare that you will see an elite level professional footballer with a VO2 max below 55. I have seen it, but usually these guys struggle to compete and struggle to back up performances Saturday, Tuesday or Sunday, Thursday or Saturday, Wednesday or whatever their schedule requires. So having a higher VO2 max allows you to recover better in between intense bouts and also allows you to perform better within high level competition. Body composition. So elite level professional footballers are extremely lean. They have moderate amounts of lean muscle mass. They're not too bulky or too heavy because it will slow them down in the long run, but they have good strength and they have good muscle mass, which allows them to produce a lot of power. They don't carry much fat mass, as it's not beneficial for them, especially nowadays when we're playing so many games that your body needs to be able to recover. So the heavier an athlete is, the more impact it's going to have on their joints, on their tendons, on their muscles. So they're now extremely lean guys with extremely low amounts of body fat. So that is another thing that defines elite level footballers. In turn, improves your athletic ability because the quicker you are at making decisions, the quicker you will be in spaces which can make you look faster, if this makes sense. So if I'm reacting to a ball or I make a better decision quicker, okay, I will get to the ball quicker, I will get in front of my opponent quicker, which in turn will make me look more athletic. So decision making is such an important part of being a top level professional. Second thing that makes a top level professional is the talent. Okay, so top level professionals do have talent. Yes, they work really, really hard, and yes, they have talent, and that's what is required to get to the very top of the game. Of course, you can get to a certain level with pure work rate, but if you have zero talent and just pure work rate, you will very much struggle to get to the higher levels of the game. Okay, so all the elite level professionals have at least some sort of talent, and the ones that aren't as talented have a relentless work rate. They have an inner drive to just be the best. And they develop this talent through decision making, okay, and being in environments that allows them to develop their decision making. So essentially, the difference at the top level is not so much physical, but it's technical and it's decision making. Decision making is the most valuable asset once you get to the top level. And decision making can only be trained in team settings. Okay, so if you're doing a lot of individual training, where you're working on shooting, you're working on passing, you're working on dribbling, that's fine to get you to a certain technical level. But once you get to a certain level, you need to train with players who are as good, if not better than you, to improve your decision making. And you need to do this as often as possible. And this is something I think is missed when people are trying to improve their footballing ability. So nowadays, with the demands of professional football, like I touched on, there's 50 plus games per year. And that's almost a minimum now for a top level footballer. So these players need to be really strong. Their body needs to be able to, and their muscles and their tendons and their joints, it needs to be able to handle game 2-3 days rest game, 2-3 days rest game, and all the trainings in between. So they need to be strong first and foremost around key muscle groups, so the hamstrings, the adductors, the quadriceps, the calves. They need to be really, really strong there, so that their body can withstand all the load that they will be put through. So in a typical week, these guys can do 40 kilometers plus a week, plus up to like 2,000 high-speed running meters, which is distance over 20 kilometers per hour, and up to 300 to 400 sprint meters, which is distance above 25.2 kilometers an hour. So their body really needs to be able to handle all these loads so that they don't break and they don't get injured. And this comes down to how they look after themselves. So the recovery protocols, how well they sleep, how well they eat, how much physio and extra they take care of themselves, how they set up their lifestyle stress-wise outside of football to maximize their recovery and maximize their performance on the training pitch and on the game pitch. Third and final point I want to make about top level professionals is their lifestyle and how much they invest in themselves. So of course these players are earning big amounts of money, but how they set up their lifestyle to allow them to recover and to allow them to perform at their maximum is extremely important. And the ones who don't do this properly usually don't last too long at the top level. So it's very typical for elite level professionals in their off season or even during the season to have their own physical coach, to have their own physio, to have their own nutritionist, their own chef, as well as what the club provide. And sometimes there can be a little bit of conflict between these two, but it just shows the level of investment the athlete is taking to maximize their career. And in the off season, they are training just as hard, just as structured, just as much as they are in season, so that they are ready and they have specific plans from their clubs. They have specific nutrition plans to follow, and it's very, very rare that a player will come back after an off season with being 4 or 5 kilos overweight or being completely unfit. These guys come back ready to train.